You ever sit back and realize? Cartoon Network didn't just give us cartoons. It gave us culture. Like Dexter's Laboratory, the Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, these weren't just fun shows to kill time after school. They were bold, weird, emotionally deep, and way ahead of their time. And the wildest part? Most of us didn't even realize how revolutionary it was until we grew up. Cartoon Network didn't play it safe. It took risks. It got dark. It got weird. And it changed animation forever. So in this video, we're diving into how this one channel rewrote the rules of modern cartoons, and how its influence still echoes in everything from Adventure Time to Rick and Morty. If you're even a little bit nostalgic, or if animation shaped your childhood the way it did mine, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's celebrate the network that raised a generation of weird, wonderful storytellers. Let's get into it. Breaking the mold, how CN rewrote animation rules in the 90s. In the early 90s, animation was playing it safe. Most networks stuck to squeaky clean formulas, bright colors, basic morals, and characters that never changed. Then came Cartoon Network, and it flipped the script. It wasn't just the shows, it was the attitude. Shows like Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, and the Powerpuff Girls brought something wild. Original characters, offbeat humor, and plots that felt like fever dreams in the best way possible. These weren't watered-down lessons disguised as cartoons. They were chaotic, clever, and confident. You had a boy genius with a secret lab in his bedroom. A narcissistic Elvis impersonator fighting for love. 3 sugar-coated supergirls blasting monsters with eye lasers, all before dinner. Cartoon Network didn't care about fitting into the box. In fact, it blew the box up. And it gave artists permission to get weird, to take risks, and to believe that kids could handle more than just cookie-cutter heroes. This was the birth of the cartoons era, and for the first time, animation had an edge. But it wasn't just style. What came next would prove Cartoon Network wasn't just playing games, it was building a legacy. Cultivating creators, how Cartoon Network became a launchpad for visionaries. Cartoon Network didn't just give us shows, it gave us voices. And some of the most groundbreaking animators of the modern era got their start right here. We're talking about legends like Genndy Tartakovsky, Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. Craig McCracken, the Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Pendleton Ward, who started as a storyboard artist and later created Adventure Time. And Rebecca Sugar, who worked on Adventure Time before launching Steven Universe, one of the most inclusive and emotionally rich cartoons ever made. Cartoon Network didn't just hire creators, it trusted them. It handed them the keys and said, make something only you could make. That creative freedom birthed shows that were raw, personal, and sometimes strange, and that's exactly why they worked. They didn't follow a corporate formula. They followed passion. Behind every quirky episode or absurd plotline was an artist pushing the limits of what animation could be visually, emotionally, and culturally. Cartoon Network was more than a channel, it was a movement. A place where creators weren't just allowed to take risks, they were expected to. And the impact? Well, it wouldn't be long before this little cable network would start shaping the future of the entire animation industry. The legacy lives on, modern animation's Cartoon Network DNA. Look around at today's most celebrated animated shows, and you'll find Cartoon Network's fingerprints everywhere. Think about it. Would we have the surreal heartache of BoJack Horseman, or the absurdist brilliance of Rick and Morty, without Courage the Cowardly Dog paving the way for weird, emotional storytelling? Would shows like Gravity Falls, Amphibia, or The Owl House even exist if Cartoon Network hadn't proved that kids could handle layered plots, strange humor, and even dark themes? Cartoon Network made it clear. Animation wasn't just for Saturday mornings anymore. It could be thoughtful, edgy, deeply personal, and still totally hilarious. And let's not forget the influence on visual style. The minimalist, expressive character designs of shows like Adventure Time and Regular Show broke away from realism and embraced something more abstract and more emotional. That style inspired a whole generation of animators who realized, I don't have to draw like Disney. I can draw like me. Even streaming giants like Netflix and HBO Max have adopted the Cartoon Network formula, giving creators room to breathe, experiment, and challenge norms. The global impact. Cartoon Network's reach beyond borders. Cartoon Network wasn't just a phenomenon in the US, it was a global force that redefined what kids around the world expected from animation. In countries across Europe, Asia, Latin America, and Africa, Cartoon Network wasn't just airing reruns. They were translating, repackaging, and even co-producing shows that spoke to local audiences. From dubbed versions of Ed and Eddy in France to Powerpuff Girls Z, a full-blown anime reboot of the original trio, Cartoon Network didn't just export its brand. It invited the world in. And the result? A cross-cultural explosion of creativity. Kids growing up in different time zones all bonded over the same themes: chaotic siblings, evil monkeys, mad scientists, and talking dogs with anxiety issues. It was more than entertainment, it was a shared global language. Plus, let's not ignore how Cartoon Network helped bring international animation styles to the mainstream. From airing Japanese anime like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, to showcasing hybrid art styles in shows like Samurai Jack, the network helped fuse Eastern and Western animation in a way no one else was doing at the time. This cultural blend expanded not just storytelling possibilities, but also diversity in characters, worldviews, and creative expression. Today, that influence is unmistakable. Creators from Brazil to South Korea to Nigeria are stepping up and saying,
"So disturbing.
We grew up on Cartoon Network, and now we're telling our stories." And the cycle continues. Cartoon Network's secret weapon. Creator-driven freedom. If there's one thing that truly set Cartoon Network apart, it was this: they trusted the weirdos. Unlike other networks that micromanaged every detail, Cartoon Network had the guts to hand the reins over to bold, imaginative creators, and just let them run wild. Genndy Tartakovsky, Craig McCracken, Pendleton Ward, Rebecca Sugar. These weren't just employees, they were visionaries, and Cartoon Network treated them that way. Instead of dumbing down content for kids, they leaned into complexity. Instead of focusing solely on merchandise potential, they focused on emotional truth, surreal comedy, and art. That's why Adventure Time could make you laugh 1 second and cry the next. Why Samurai Jack could have entire episodes with no dialogue and still hold your attention like a cinematic masterpiece. Why Steven Universe could talk about trauma, identity, and love in a way no kids show had before. Because the network gave creators room to explore, to take risks, to break rules. This wasn't just about animation, it was about reshaping what animation could be. Suddenly, cartoons weren't just Saturday morning time fillers. They were poetry, therapy, rebellion, and yes, entertainment that actually respected its audience. And let's be honest, when you re-watch these shows as adults, they still hold up. Why? Because the creators weren't trying to make kid shows. They were making art. And Cartoon Network stood behind them the whole way. Cartoon Network's enduring legacy. Cartoon Network wasn't just a channel, it was a cultural reset. It changed the way we watched, the way we laughed, and the way we felt about animated storytelling. And even today, its fingerprints are everywhere. Modern hits like Gravity Falls, The Owl House, Invincible, and even BoJack Horseman owe a debt to the blueprint Cartoon Network created, where quirky humor, emotional depth, and unapologetic weirdness can live side by side. Its iconic shows became more than entertainment, they became memories burned into our childhoods, memes we still share, and characters who feel like lifelong friends. Think about it. You've probably quoted Ed and Eddy without realizing it. You've caught yourself humming the Powerpuff Girls theme song out of nowhere. And even now, you might wish Courage the Cowardly Dog would just give you a hug after a long day. That's the power of Cartoon Network. It wasn't afraid to be smart, or silly, or bold, or heartbreaking. It believed that cartoons could mean something, and we believed it, too. Today, as streaming platforms churn out content by the hour, few things stick the way Cartoon Network's classics did. Because they weren't just trying to sell toys or chase trends, they were telling stories that mattered. So even if the network's golden era has passed, its influence is still very much alive, in the artists it inspired, the shows it influenced, and the fans it shaped. Cartoon Network changed animation forever. And honestly, we'll never see anything like it again. Cartoon Network wasn't just a channel, it was a revolution. It gave us worlds where imagination had no limits and stories that still echo in pop culture decades later. But now, I want to hear from you. What's the one Cartoon Network show that defined your childhood? Was it the chaotic brilliance of Ed, and Eddy? The action-packed thrill of Samurai Jack? Or the pure weirdness of Courage the Cowardly Dog? Drop your favorite in the comments below, I'll be reading them all. And if you loved this trip down memory lane, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the shows that shaped our lives. Because this is just the beginning, we've got even more animation secrets and behind-the-scenes stories coming your way. Until next time, stay nostalgic and keep those Cartoon Network memories alive.